Welcome everybody to the Sports on I-40 podcast. We're doing a special Thursday night recording for you guys to do some recaps on some games that we saw last week, as well as to do give our thoughts about the upcoming playoff matches tomorrow. I know that Joseph City is playing in the state championship tomorrow, as well as tomorrow evening we have Chinle. Who's Chinle playing?
Chinle be playing Payson.
Okay, Chinle playing Payson. And then the other one, not Snowflake.
Ganado.
Snowflake Ganado. Okay. As well as talking about our thoughts about the Copper Finals between Page and Phoenix Country Day. So hopefully everyone's been enjoying some of the content that we put up these last few weeks. We had Coach Greg Perkins on, and then I happened to also interview Coach Jeremy Madison, and we do have some other people that we're talking to try to get on the podcast sometime soon. Now that basketball is sort of winding down for some of these teams, and other sports are starting to come up as well. Hopefully, some of these other coaches and guests that we have lined up will have some time to come on and speak to us about some of the things that are going on with their teams or the activities that they have going on at this present moment.
Yep.
So Mac, so I had the opportunity to go to Payson Holbrook. I think you watched it on television or not television. On the internet, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let me set the stage for you.
All right.
We interviewed Greg Perkins the day before on Sunday. Great interview. He was, very honest, and he was very humble about Holbrook's appearance and their privilege to play Payson. And I thought he had a lot of good things to say. And in my mind at that time, I really thought that Holbrook had a really good chance to beat Payson in Payson. It was really anybody's game at that point, I thought. Obviously, Payson was the favorite in that game, Holbrook being the underdog, but it really looked good as a matchup for Holbrook, and I think it was Payson's to lose. And in my mind, if Holbrook would have won, they would probably be in Payson's. I think they would have had a good shot at being in Payson's current position right now in the state semis. What do you think?
I agree. Talking with some of the parents on the team and just kind of mingling with people. That's what everybody said too. Mm-hmm. That Payson was a tougher team rather than I think it was Push Ridge. I believe who the
Sabino.
Yeah, Sabino. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it could have been them and Chinle tomorrow, but. No, Payson got that win, so now it's Payson.
Yeah, and as Coach Perkins had mentioned, he was really hoping to get a matchup against Sabino if they would have beaten Payson. And I guess it kind of looked like, even though Sabino was the underdog, it did look like I thought Sabino did have an edge over Push Ridge at that time. So it was sort of looking whoever would have won would have had to play Sabino.
Yeah, and Holbrook would have had the opportunity to host the home game had they beat Payson, but it didn't go that way. So
yeah, so traveling down there to Payson, Coach Perkins mentioned the mini dome. It was definitely really loud. I think the architecture of that thing the architecture of the building makes it more echoing and a lot louder than it really was. It wasn't a full house. It was probably maybe half full or 3/4 full. I know the main seating area was pretty full with the students and the parents. And if you showed up early, you would have been able to sit in that area. But regardless of that, it was still. I feel like 2 people would have made that whole entire gym really loud. And coming in, I was really surprised. I was expecting Dea Guerrero to continue her playoff performance, and she definitely did do that. She came in, did what I like to see her do was a lot more driving of the ball to the basket, and she continued to do that, and it continued to work very well for her. The only problems that I saw in this game was, I would say, this was probably Channing Harrington's, in my opinion, her worst game that I've seen this year. It just kind of seemed out of sync for her for this game, and I think that really was detrimental to the team. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, looking at their threes, like from Jordan and Channing, seemed like a lot of their shots weren't going in, and they're attempting them, but they just weren't consistent on their shots. It seemed like,
Mhm.
and they could have did better. Dea really played her heart out, and her being a senior, and Elena too. They really tried their best, man.
You know, it really was heartbreaking for Holbrook. You know, I try to stay as neutral as possible, but uh, like for example, you know, Dea, Holly Casimiro, Elena, um, you know, just watching them go up through the program all
Mm-hmm.
these years, and you know, them being an opportunity to win this playoff game and continue their push into the playoffs. It was sort of. I understand it being emotional not only for the players but for the parents as well, and I did see that in the parents
Yeah.
seeing that, and it to me it really looked like they were playing to win, like they didn't want it to end, and they were hoping to advance.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, though, just some things just didn't go their way, and that ultimately ended in the final score that it being with Payson with the win at the very end.
Yeah.
You know, there were some crucial errors in that game.
Mm-hmm.
For example, they had the substitution error. I think it was in like
Oh
the third
yeah,
quarter.
the
Uh,
technical foul.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if it's a Holbrook thing because I know the junior high had incident like
Yeah.
that earlier in this season, but um, yeah, in something like that, I don't know if it was loud or just a miscommunication, but there's just one of those mistakes that you wish you could have back,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a close game at that time too. So it was definitely was Holbrook winning at that time? It
I think they were. Yeah, at the
uh-huh.
time they kind of had a lead of
was like
like
4 points or
or
something
something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and little mistakes like that, it cost them.
hmm And I'm not trying to be, you know, a jerk or anything like that. I'm just kind of reporting what I saw. You know, there were some other mistakes too. I know Jordan Claw had some earlier mistakes too when she was put into the game in the first and second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It, I would just say the underclassmen, um, they just sort of. I'm not too sure if maybe the lights were too bright or maybe it was just their first time being in a high pressure game like this, and
Yeah.
and maybe that could have affected because normally they do not play like that, and I
Mm-hmm.
was just really surprised to see them sort of be hesitant or just make really plays that really hurt them and when they
Yeah.
really needed to count.
Yeah. They had some missed free throws too in the game towards the end, and which cost them, and then they are getting hurt for a little bit too, and her coming out of the game for a little bit too. Really,
Yeah, that was like
it
in the fourth
affected them.
quarter, right?
Yeah.
Right beginning or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, that was very that was that wasn't a good time for that to happen as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just thinking about some other things too. The free throws really hurt, like you had mentioned. Um, the lack of mid-range shooting is again. It just seemed like it was 3-pointers and shots right underneath the basket in this game. Luckily for them, Payson missed a lot of threes. Payson missed a lot of opportunities too. So I think if Payson would have, even made a quarter of the shots that they had missed, 25% of the shots, or even 10%, they probably would have won by a greater margin than they won by. On the flip side too, if Holbrook would have limited those mistakes, maybe had better offensive possessions, they could have easily won by a
Mm-hmm.
greater momentum or greater uh, margin of victory. And I was really hopeful and really expecting. I think it was around the third quarter. I want to say it was the third quarter, but it seemed like at some point in the game, Holbrook had a chance to pull away, and I was really hoping that they would pull away. I think the biggest lead they had was 4 or 5 points,
Yeah.
and I thought at that time they had an opportunity to really pull away, really start scoring some shots, maybe have a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter. But it was just the mistakes, and Payson just sort of taking advantage of those, as well as making their shots that sort of put that possibility um, off the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had some quick players, and it seemed like defensively, Holbrook matched them. Like they kept up with them, and they knew they were anticipating it was going to be that type of game, so
Mhm.
they were well prepared for that. Like Perkins said.
Yeah, yeah. So it was just unfortunate, and I really feel bad for the seniors. I thought they really, put everything out there, and they were really wanting to win this game, and it just kind of makes me wonder about. And I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody of this, or I just kind of thought about underclassmen, and I kind of think back even when I was younger too, when I was underclassmen in sports too, is the possibility of complacency towards the end of the season due to the fact that you know that you're coming back next year, and I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody of doing this, but sometimes I wonder if for underclassmen there's sort of a lack of, I don't want to say lack, I guess for lack of a better word or phrase, lack of passion towards the end, just knowing that this isn't your last game. But whereas the seniors, knowing that this could potentially be their last game,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case or not. I guess it's anyone's guess. I'm going to assume that it's not, and that they just had a bad game.
Yep.
But like my dad would always say, there's always next year. So, yeah, that was the girls' game. It was a really good one. If you are able to watch the replay on the Sports Zone, I think was it Northline Basketball or Sports Zone that did the broadcast?
I talk. I think it was
Or I talk. Yeah, I would definitely recommend maybe just skimming through and just sort of seeing the highlights and just kind of getting an idea of the performance they had. The second one that we saw, this wasn't broadcasted anywhere. It was Holbrook versus Coolidge, and the only way, unless you were at the game, the only way you could have watched it was if you watched Alberto's live stream on Facebook. So I thank him for that, because I got to sit here and watch that while he was in that. So, so I did catch most of that game, though it wasn't the ideal angles, but at least got to have an idea of the game, right? What were your thoughts? Because you were actually there, right?
Yeah. It was coming into the game. I was expecting Coolidge to be taller, like expecting them to be a lot bigger, but coming into the game, coming into just doing the warm up, they seem like they matched up kind of almost fairly even, I guess. I mean, not even, but like kind of close, I was expecting like more 6'6" guys or whatever, but they had two post players that were bigger. I believe I was told that they were the coach's sons, and the surprising thing is that the whole team on the Coolidge they're all returning back. No seniors on the team, so they're gonna have a pretty good run next year. And it was a good game. Holbrook did what they could and all that, and then at the end, it didn't work out in their way too, and they got the loss. So it could have been anybody's game in the game, and it was close all the way.
Yeah. From what I've seen, Coolidge was just dominating the boards.
Yeah.
Especially on the offensive side, getting those offensive rebounds.
Yeah, they had a lot of second chance shots.
And the way that they were getting those rebounds, I felt that when Holbrook played Payson, I felt they could have done something similar and continued to get points off the rebound, which could have made the game closer against Payson.
Yeah.
But the way Coolidge played it, and there was, I don't remember there being a whole lot of jump shots, was there? It was mostly just 3-pointers and under the basket, because they drove a lot, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of penetrating points, a lot of fast breaks. Coolidge had the speed too. Their point guard, a freshman kid. I don't remember his name, but he was pretty quick. Yeah.
So I guess my question is, if Holbrook and Coolidge were to play 10 games in a row, how many games do you think Holbrook would win against Coolidge?
They'd win 6.
Win 6. So okay. So you're saying, and I'm thinking the same thing too, that it just happened to be one of those nights where Holbrook was just a little bit off.
Yeah, they had the opportunity, man. It could have went their way if they, like this whole new, someone talking to some of the parents and the fans, they said if the AIA had changed it to like a more of like a if it was in Prescott again or a neutral place, the game could have been different too, which could have been, which is true too. Like it could have been anybody's game. And Coolidge did have a pretty good fan base at the game too, and they were pretty loud. And Holbrook did too. A lot of the fans from Phoenix and that area all showed up too. But Coolidge definitely showed out with their student section.
Yeah, I could definitely see that on the live stream as well. So, and it's just unfortunate, for Holbrook, with the seniors like Jaron, Tyler.
Yeah.
Was it Who are the other seniors? Okay, Chase,
Leighton,
Leighton.
Chase, yeah, Caleb.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate to see them. I guess what makes it hard or difficult is these games where you should have won and just things didn't go your way.
Yeah.
Maybe it's. I guess I'm assuming all victories. I guess all victories hurt but I guess it's the ones that you knew that you had a chance to win. I think those are the ones that hurt the most.
Yep.
But I really hope great things for these young men as they graduate and move on to the next stage of their life. I would say 95% of Americans, 95% of high schoolers, or some high percentage like that don't win a state championship. So I wouldn't carry that weight, but about that. But I think it's just what makes it unique is it's a one and done tournament, unless you were in the copper, I guess. But you only get one shot and within those 4 years of doing that. So
Yeah.
But as I mentioned in several podcasts, earlier, several podcasts before, just thanking the seniors all across the state, whoever you might be, great season, great memories, and it was just fun to watch. And when I think about that, I think about the Payson versus Holbrook girls game. There were a lot of fans that were like emotionally invested in that team. And I guess I certainly was too. It was just seeing these young players develop into the team that they became, and it was just like a drama. It was good television, I guess, as throughout the season, and just seeing that potential. And it was just like I said, it's just very emotional to see a season end like that.
Yeah.
On the flip side too, Monument Valley versus Snowflake. So I had the opportunity to go to Snowflake to watch that game, and I was expecting a lot more effort from both teams, given that this was the 3A tournament and this was finally win or go home situation, as opposed to when Monument Valley played Snowflake a few weeks ago in the copper tournament. I thought Monument Valley would have came out and had a good game plan to beat Snowflake, but it was I'm gonna say it was just a sloppy game overall. And I know that some of the people I talked to, they thought it was a good game, but when they say that, I'm like, what game were you watching? It was just a sloppy game, and Snowflake was the favorite, so they were supposed to win. And I think Snowflake got really lucky. I honestly believe that Monument Valley should have won that game, but I don't know if it was just lack of preparedness, or maybe the lights were too bright for them, or something. Monument Valley just weren't able to finish the Snowflake Lobos off when they had that chance, especially when Snowflake's post went down with the injury and she wasn't able to return for the rest of the game. That really changed the momentum at first. And I thought that was I thought when that happened, Monument Valley would have, they would have ran away with the game, or at least put up some kind of lead. But it's just really bad. Monument Valley just had bad passes, bad shooting. I was really surprised at Karen Mann's play. Her being the best player on the team, her having the name that everybody knows about in the state. Her play. To me, you would expect your star players like that to, when the going gets tough, the star players show up and they start making an effort to get your team over the finish line. And it just seemed like Karen didn't do that. And if you look at the game, there was a moment, there were some instances in the second quarter, third quarter where she tried, but Snowflake, her opponent that was guarding her, just locked her down. And it just seemed like when Karen tried to do some kind of move, dribble the ball, do something, she was just dribbling to nowhere, and she would get stuck somewhere around the lower portion of the key and would have no choice but to pass it out.
Yeah, I seen some double teaming on her too a few times, and the short girl, I don't know her name, but then she was all over the court. Yeah, from Snowflake.
And then again, just really bad passes, really bad shooting. Both teams were horrible at the free throw line. And Yeah, when I was watching Monument Valley warm up, I was thinking about what Coach Perchin said about nobody practices mid range jumpers.
Oh,
Monument Valley had their warm up where they were shooting maybe like 8-footers, something like that, just short of the foul line, right? Free throw line, I mean, and they must have missed 20 of those in a row until finally someone made it. But I was watching, I was just shocked at just that little shot in warmups. Every single person on the team missed it. So my advice to a lot of these teams for next season is there's a lot of opportunities to score between the free throw line and underneath the basket. And it should be, my dad looks at the game and he's like, there is no mid-range shooting. You know, their teams are basically handicapping themselves by just limiting themselves to 3-pointers and to, shots down low. If there's a team that can do all three effectively, I think, especially on the girls' side, they will be a force to be reckoned with. But we'll just have to see. And maybe that's just a trend right now is shooting 3-pointers. But man, Monument Valley, dude, they really missed an opportunity. And I think Karen Mann knew that. Just seeing her emotions at the very end, towards the very end of the game, I think she knew that they had a chance to beat Snowflake, but they just couldn't get out of their own mistakes.
yeah. Yeah, talking about the 3-pointer again, too, real quick. I think someone had told me that in the Holbrook game against Coolidge, they made this 3-point attempt was like 39 out of 7 or something like that in that whole game.
Yeah, I spoke to Jeremy Madison after the podcast. He said, I think they said they made 7 out of 39.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they shot 39 3-pointers.
That's crazy.
And Jeremy and Coach Madison said if they would have made like 10% more, they would have won that game by like so many points, right?
Yep.
So it's live by the 3, die by the 3. If you make them, it's great, and everybody's happy. But when you miss them, it's tough, and I guess that's why it's worth 3 points, But yeah, it'd be really nice to see a lot more teams really start to expand their game and try to work the ball. Well, okay. One of the problems that the North boys have in particular is they're not very tall. So when they go against teams that are taller, I think they're really intimidated and they're very hesitant about trying to play in the inside game and start relying on 3-pointers.
Yeah.
So I guess that'll always be a problem for them. But it would just be nice to see. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that game is, it's you use your players to their best ability, and some, like you said, they ain't really the shooting type person or shooting type players. I think one example that someone always comes to mind for a good jumper, that had a good shot and was a good shooter was Noah Brown a few years back. So every time I talk to somebody, one of the kids or one of the boys about, you need to be more consistent. Like you need to shoot more like Noah. Noah had a good jump shot, and I always seen him do that. And some of his highlights that I see nowadays, he still does that.
The mid range is such an effective offense. My dad and I spoke about this this past Sunday, and he brought up 3 players that in the NBA that he had seen the last 30 years that were just really effective and helped their team out immensely. One of them being Chris Paul when he was with the Suns. His 2-point shooting, he was just deadly accurate from the mid range there. The second one, Steve Nash with the Suns back in 2006. Deadly with the shooting there. And the other one he mentioned was Kevin Johnson. I guess they're all Suns players. My dad's a Suns fan. He goes all the way back to the 80s with that stuff. But just the decline too. I know Michael Jordan was also a big mid-range jumper, mid-range shooter as well.
Yep.
So, I would say, to the players that are coming back, there's a lot to work on. There's always something to work on. I always like to think that at the end of the season is a good time to reflect and think about what your weaknesses were and what you should work on individually in the off season.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there some players on, I don't know who exactly, but some players I feel are just in season players. They they only practice when it's in season, and when it's out of season, it's something else too. And I guess I don't blame them. I mean, being in a small school, having multi sports, it's great, you know. I guess but sometimes maybe you just got to pick what your passion is and stick with it. So if your aspirations is to win a state championship in basketball, you know, really think about what your game was lacking this past season and work on that.
Yeah.
Take advantage of the. I know a lot of players, especially in the North, they play in a lot of summer tournaments, not just with their team, but you know, other parents or whoever that start a team and they go about you know, around the state or whatever. Even in those, you know, I think those are an opportunity to really hone in on your skills, because it doesn't count for anything, right?
Yep.
It's just to maybe stay in shape, get some more experience, but you know, really take that time to really, if you're bad dribbling with your left hand, you know, in those games, you know, try to dribble with your left hand more and get some more reps in that.
Yeah. I think kids nowadays are starting to understand what the off season's about, and you know that's where the development and all that happens. And I think nowadays they're starting to understand that, and hopefully that grows and grows, and they become better players during these times. Talking to my daughter today, they just ended their season this evening, and this is junior high basketball. And I was talking to some of the players afterwards and telling them, like, you know, this is where you need to get better. Like, this loss hurts tonight, and hopefully you guys can get better. You guys can come back stronger next year. So that's the goal for next season.
And there's some other things too that you know, we live in a new age of sports, new age of fitness. One of the things a lot of players don't really take seriously right now is nutrition. Really think about your nutrition, because that's the complete game also includes that as well.
Yeah.
Strength training. Strength training is very beneficial, not only for your personal health, but it'll help with your game as well. And one of the things that I've noticed nobody ever does is jump rope, right? I think jump rope is one of the most underutilized exercises. Because I do a lot of jump roping at the gym myself over here in Holbrook, and they have some jump ropes available. They haven't had, I think someone took the other one, or they threw it away or something, but when I was in high school, our coach made us do jump roping as a warm up. We warmed up like 30 minutes, and one of those skills was jump roping, and I really didn't understand why we were doing it at the time, but later on I found out that jump rope is good for foot speed, for foot coordination, and as well as to build those leg muscles for jumping and whatnot. So I would really encourage players to explore jump rope. You know, even just getting one and doing it in the morning or something, it'll definitely help your foot speed and your coordination.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on anything nutrition or fitness wise?
Yeah. From what I heard that Snowflake does a really good job of like summer building for their kids. Like they do, I believe they offer the open gym, and then like calisthenics training and all that for some of the a lot of the students there. Is what I heard. Like the football players and whoever can come, I guess. And I think I don't know if Holbrook does anything like that, but like. It's cool. It's cool that Snowflake's doing that. That's what I heard. That's what I heard about them, and it shows, man. Like their football team and their volleyball team, and you can tell they're pretty fit, pretty fit kids over there.
Yeah, I believe Holbrook does for sure open up for the football team, but I'm sure when they open up for the football team, it's open to all the high school athletes that would like to come. But regardless, though. Really, I would say really consider nutrition and fitness and seeing where you can improve on that, because living in this new day, this new age of sports, it's nutrition and fitness is very, very important. Okay. But one last thing though, I just want to say, despite what my sort of criticisms about the Monument Valley team, I regardless though, I guess it just wasn't their night, and I think Karen Mann was a great player, And I've discussed this with other coaches, not the coach, but other fans about Karen Mann being one of the top players in the North and the East. I was sort of putting her in the same category as Raquel Wilson, and for a while there too, I was arguing that maybe Karen Mann was probably a better player than Raquel Wilson. Obviously, my opinion doesn't count towards really anything other than just in small circles to whom you talk with. But I thought Karen Mann was a really great player, and hopefully, she goes off and does great things after high school.
Yep.
Okay, so the next part here, tomorrow, Joseph City versus San Carlos girls basketball.
Fort Thomas.
Or Fort Thomas. Is it Fort Thomas?
Fort Thomas.
Oh yeah, San Carlos is 2A, right?
Yep.
Okay, Fort Thomas. I wish I knew a lot more about it. I don't know if Joe City played San Carlos or not San Carlos, Fort Thomas earlier. Do you know if they did?
I believe they did. Yeah. I think Joe City might have got the win on that one. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up, but I'm just throwing a guess out there.
Yeah, Joe City is currently the favorite. I believe they're ranked number 1 in the 1A. So I guess the odds are on their side, and maybe I would say it's their game to lose. So we'll just have to see. Anything can happen in playoff basketball. So hopefully, I've been trying to reach out to some of the coaches over there at Joe City, my alma mater, and see if they can come on and talk about their season. But they've been busy as well with their season too. So, but hopefully, maybe we can work something out in the future and get some recognition from the 1A, because I know we've spent most of our time talking about the 3A, right? So, and we sort of made a promise to try to spread it around as well. But anyways, tomorrow though, I guess I do expect Joseph City to have the edge. Like I said, it's their game to lose. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got a good chance of winning. I think they definitely have the size advantage too. It looks like the last time they played, they won 63-42. So I believe they have that. They should get it.
Okay, yeah. And this would be Joe City's third straight for the girls, third straight state championship appearance, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they did play in the Copper as well against Sholo, and I think they lost by what, 20 points or 10 points to Sholo.
Lost by 13.
13, right? Yeah.
Or actually 9. They lost by 9.
Yeah, so they have a good squad over there. Joseph City, they do have a tradition of, at least recent tradition within the last 25 years of having excelling in sports. If you look at the 90s and the 80s, I think Joe City wasn't that great at a whole lot of sports. I remember looking in the yearbook. I think it was like the 92 season or something like that. Joseph City only had, I think, 10 players on their football team. Mm-hmm. So it's just a neat little fact there. But anyways, yeah, they've had a great season this year, and I'll be rooting for Joseph City. Maybe I'll wear my Letterman jacket when I watch them play tomorrow on TV. The next one here. So I guess we're moving to the 3A girls bracket here. Tomorrow, I guess we'll start with the lower seed first. Ganado versus Snowflake. I don't believe Ganado played Snowflake this year, right?
I don't know. I kind of think they did.
I want to say they didn't play them this year, but I could be wrong. Regardless, though, while you're looking that up, I don't really know what the status is of Snowflake's low post that got injured. To me, it looked like maybe she sprained her knee or something during that game. So I don't really know if she's going to play tomorrow or not. But she definitely, and I wish I knew her name off the top of my head, but she definitely was an important player for Snowflake. Ganado, though, they're sort of playing with a passion to win. And seeing some of the video that was sent to me, Ganado versus Winslow, Valley Christian. And plus we saw Ganado play Holbrook earlier this year. They have some great players on the team, some seniors that are, wanting to go out on top. And even though I think Snowflake is the favorite, they're ranked number 2. I'm gonna give the slight edge to Ganado. I think they have a legitimate chance at beating Snowflake. They have a lot of momentum on their side. I guess it's just gonna come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, I give Ganado the edge also. I think they got a few more players, I guess, that where they were to match up, like they have a little bit of edge over Snowflake, and if they can get a good rhythm going, and that James girl, I forgot her name, if they can get her going and all that, I think they got a really good chance.
Yeah, Snowflake has a lot. They have the height, which will be an advantage for them. Excuse me. But I guess my sort of analysis of Snowflake is they have the height, they have the speed, they have some players that are fast, but haven't really seen a whole lot of teams sort of exploit their lack of skill at ball handling. Snowflake's not really a great shooting team as far as 3-pointers. They do work it in a lot, at least the games that I've seen. So if there's Snowflake fans out there that are upset that I said that, I'm very sorry. I haven't watched every single game. That's just my analysis. And even though I say Ganado has a slight edge over Snowflake, Snowflake is ranked. They're the higher ranked team, and if you put it down on paper, it's a game that Snowflake should win. If you're just going based just off the rankings, the power rankings, and all that stuff. But really, I guess it's just Snowflake's game to lose at this point. And I think Ganado having the momentum and and we saw Ganado play. I think I really do feel like Ganado has a good chance of pulling the upset.
Yeah. I know they struggled against Winslow a little bit, and Winslow not being considered the best and all that. And Winslow kind of gave them a game, and Winslow or Ganado ended up pulling out at the end. But if they can just kind of not get in that type of zone, that type of playing, I think that they'll be all right. They'll be all right in this game. And I've seen some of the footage too for the game with Valley Christian. Valley Christian they were on it. They were desperately trying to win too, and just Ganado ended up finishing stronger than they did, so they got to win. So, yeah.
Yeah. I guess from the footage that I saw, Ganado Valley Christian, it definitely wasn't a packed house over there in Ganado. Do you think a lot of fans are going to go down there tomorrow to watch not only Ganado but Chinle play as well?
Yeah. Ganado and Chinle are just 30 miles apart too, so there'll be fans from both sides attending for both games. And they'll be there for sure.
And if anybody hasn't seen it, watch that YouTube short that I put up of Coach Perkins talking about fans having an influence on the game, because if it's at least maybe not necessarily a packed house, but a pretty good crowd there, I think Ganado has a good chance of taking advantage of that. And especially if the Chinle, obviously I think the Chinle fans are going to show up anyways to try to get a good seat too. So I guess there's a good chance that the attendance or the crowd could play a factor. But at the same time, Coach Perkins did mention that Snowflake fans have been really showing out for their school as well. So maybe, and plus Snowflake, they played a lot of North teams as well.
Yeah.
So I guess I would expect maybe Snowflake to not be as rattled as, let's say, a Valley Christian, right? Because I don't think Valley Christian really plays a game in front of a lot of big crowds. Yeah. The girls specifically. Or any other Valley team. I think Valley teams are really influenced by crowd sizes just because they don't really play in them very often. But when you come to up here, I guess when you're a rural town, basketball is really the only thing to do on a Friday or a Tuesday. So everybody comes out and watches anyways. Plus I like the hot dogs. So, but anyways, so yeah, you have any final thoughts on the Snowflake Ganado game?
No, it'd be a good game. Be a good game to watch. I think it's be more. It's gonna be a closer match than I think the Chilean game and Chilean Payson game. Is what I think.
My advice to Snowflake is do not come out here. Do not go to the game tomorrow thinking that that you have a good chance to win. Think of it like, that Ganado's coming to win, and if you come with that mindset, then I think Snowflake has a chance to, easily take care of Ganado. But if they come in overconfident, again, I think Ganado does have a good chance of pulling the upset, especially if the Snowflake's post player is still recovering from that injury that she sustained during the Mono Valley game. We'll have to see, because she definitely played a big fact. She was definitely a big part of their offense.
Yeah.
And rebounding as well on the defensive end. The next game here tomorrow night, Chinle versus who are they playing?
Payson.
Chinle versus Payson. And I fully expect Chinle to win. My only concern is I hope Chinle doesn't come to the game tomorrow thinking that Payson's just going to roll over for them. Because if they come in with that mindset, it's going to be a close game. And I think Payson definitely has the ability to upset a team like Chinle if a team like Chinle does not come prepared to play. Do you think the same thing?
Same thing, yep. I think Payson's only be playing against Chinle, but they're also going to be playing against Ganado and Chinle fans at the same time, like you said, too. I think that'd be factored in the game.
And it's Chinle's game to lose. In my mind, I'm thinking, and I could be really wrong, but I really think it's going to be Chinle by 10. But at the same time, you just never know. Payson's playing with the passion to win as well, and they want to come out and win too. So, I think Chinle has a big edge at beating them, but if they come thinking that Payson's going to roll over, they're going to have a tough night.
Yep.
But I think Payson though does have the potential to be affected by the crowd size as well, too. So that could play a part, and it's also going to depend on who's reffing the game as well tomorrow. If it's a bunch of Valley coaches, I think they could possibly be influenced by the crowd sizes as well. I guess we'll just have to see who it might be, and I guess go from there. I did notice that in all the playoff games that I've watched, the referees were definitely pretty lenient on fouls.
Yeah, I noticed that too at the Coolidge and Holbrook game. They were letting them play, man.
Yeah, that was one of the complaints that I was hearing from fans at the Holbrook Payson game and at the Monument Valley Snowflake game, that it was a really rough game. A lot of fouls that weren't called that fans wanted to be called, but the referees were just letting them play. And I guess if you play the whole season, expecting a certain move to the basket to draw a foul, and all of a sudden you're in the playoffs and they're not calling those, I think that's also a game changer as well. And maybe that could be one of those instances where maybe it could affect Chinle, because Payson does have like one player that's like 5'11".
Yeah.
I think she's at least as tall as I am. So they definitely have the advantage, at least on the rebounding side. Who's Chinle's tallest player? Is it Dijon?
Dijon White.
Dijon White?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it'll be a battle between them two down underneath. But, the rebounding portion, making your free throws, those are going to be some big factors as well. And just limiting the mistakes, the bad passes, trying to toss it down court and gets intercepted, right?
Yep.
So but if they can, if Chinle can come there with the mindset of taking care of business, I fully expect them to beat Payson by at least 10. But we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
I'm not a sports handicapper, but that's kind of my impression of the game. But I'm still leaving the door open for Payson being able to pull up the upset as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's gonna be Chile, at least by I say 12 points maybe.
12.
Yeah, they're pretty experienced now in the state playoffs, and they know what to expect. And them going back a few times the last previous years, and I think it's going to be the year, man. Francine McCurtain's doing a good job. She was coach of the year too, so for the North Conference, and I believe they'll have that in their favor. So yeah.
So I know we're talking about the playoffs right now, but I do want to take 3 steps back because we never talked about this. But Winter Rock girls versus Holbrook girls. That was the first round of the 3A, or was it the play-in? It was the pool play, right?
Yeah.
That was a great game for Holbrook. They definitely limited the mistakes, made a lot of their shots. I think Winter Rock came with the intention of winning, but they just maybe a lack of experience or something. But one player that I guess I kind of felt bad for on the Winter Rock side was their main player, DeVay Willie. Winter Rock went to the state championship a year prior, and they ended up losing to Page, the team that they beat in the North Region Conference Championship, tournament championship, right? And her having to come back as a senior this year, and just sort of, I think she was just lacking the talent around her to have them have a successful season. And I think it was just I could maybe sense the frustration.
Yeah.
But I think, at least from what I saw from both games when I saw them play, that she was being a great teammate and trying to make the best of the situation. That's just my impression. I don't, maybe Winter Rock fans, maybe they know something I don't, but that was just my impression. But I really hats off to DeVay Willie too. I hope she goes out, graduates, and does great things as well. And it was, again, she's one of those players as well where fans really appreciated her play throughout these last few years.
Yep. And Winter Rock will be coming pretty strong in the next 4 years too now, with the new group of kids coming in, and with a good coach like the Whitney lady. Yeah, they're gonna have an awesome program for the next few years.
They start that scouts chant early, like even the in the junior high game that we went to, that tournament. Even they were doing the scouts cheer, the SCOUTS chant. I remember when I first heard that back in like 2006 or 7. I think I heard it at Winter Rock versus Winslow at Winslow, and it's so sad too. I noticed that there's been a lower amount of attendance at these games. Of all the games that I've gone to throughout the year, other than a major playoff game, attendance has been down, especially in the North. Maybe it's just one of the explanations I heard was that COVID sort of changed people's behaviors.
Yeah,
and I think people are slowly coming back to engaging in these social affairs. But Chinle, Winter Rock, they built these big facilities to accommodate these fans, but yet, from what I've seen, even at the when I went to the North tournament last year, it was pretty. The lower bowl at Winter Rock was filled, but these facilities were built to accommodate the fans, but the fans are just not coming. Even for Chinle, for example, the girls are on the verge of being in a position to win the state championship, but yet, to me, there just wasn't a lot of fan support as opposed to 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Which brings me to what I was saying originally about Winslow versus Winter Rock back then. I remember all the Winter Rock fans being there and like everybody doing that scout chant. So keep it up. It's fun to see when the fans get into it.
Yep.
Anyway, so fast forward now to Saturday, Page versus Phoenix Country Day. Now, Phoenix Country Day, they handled Sholo pretty well. And I did watch a portion of that game online. Sholo, they did a good job at sort of keeping within 10 points in the first half, but eventually Phoenix Country Day just sort of ran away with that game. And to Sholo's surprise, I wonder if Sholo kind of came in thinking, oh, they're a 2A team, we're a 3A team. We beat Snowflake. We beat who else did they beat? I think they beat like a lot of the North teams they played. I don't think they never played Chinle, I don't think.
Chinle beat him.
Chinle beat him, right?
Chinle beat him.
Okay, so they were sort of coming off like, we're in the bigger division.
Yeah.
We've had better competition. And maybe that's kind of my impression. I don't know if that's really what was going on, but Phoenix Country Day they were just a better team that day. And I guess I have to make a correction. When we interviewed Coach Perkins, he said that they had 2 Division I players. I believe actually they're Division III players. One of the girls, because they had mentioned in the broadcast, she's playing at NYU next year, and they're a Division III college. Regardless, though, that's still really high division, and it shows that they have some really good players on that team, and some height as well. Page, on the other hand, I don't know. I kind of feel like Page is kind of coming into this game. I watched Page Tuba City. Was it the Sports Zone? I think Sports Zone did the broadcast.
Yeah, the Mono Valley.
Page versus Tuba City in Mono Valley, and it just kind of seemed like, to me, Page is going into this game on Saturday a little overconfident. They beat Tuba City. Did they make it to the conference championship for the 3A North tournament?
No, they didn't. That was between Snowflake and or not Snowflake. Between
Chinle
and Tuba City.
Tuba City. Okay, so maybe I just see like they were, they played in a tough division, probably the hardest division in the 3A. Or I'm not gonna say probably it is the hardest division in the 3A. They came out on top against Tuba City, and they just kind of gave me the impression that they're thinking, we're in the 3A. Yeah. We were in the toughest division, and we had all these close games. And how is Phoenix Country Day just going to come in and beat us when we have all this momentum on our side, right? And I just have to say that I think Phoenix Country Day is not a team to underestimate.
Nope, definitely not, man.
And I think it's going to be a lot closer than at least the Page players thinks it's going to be. Unless that's just kind of my impression. I don't know. I'm not from Page. I don't really know a whole lot about their team per se, other than what I've seen in the broadcast. But it's good to be confident. But at the same time, it's also good to not jinx yourself. I'm kind of superstitious that way. What are your thoughts?
Seeing the way they played against Miami in that first game in the copper bracket, it was interesting. I didn't know exactly who. I don't know Miami too well, and I didn't know that a lot of their starters weren't playing. But they came out quick. They came out in a fast-paced type game, and I don't think Miami was prepared for that. I didn't think they expected Page to play that way. So I'm hoping that Page can play that way. Maybe give Country Day a little bit of a I don't know what you say, like surprise, I guess, and hopefully play that way, and just play aggressive res ball, and maybe that's something they're not used to. Maybe they'll somehow get advantage on that, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. And I don't get me wrong. Though I try to stay neutral in these games, I think I'm rooting for Page to beat Phoenix Country Day.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I'm really hoping for a good game. A good game, maybe one that goes down, one that you'll remember. That's why I was disappointed with the Super Bowl. Even though I wanted the Chiefs to lose, I was disappointed that the Eagles just demolished the Chiefs. Yeah. I was hoping for a really close game, But anyways, yeah. Just like I said, Phoenix Country Day, they're not a team to underestimate. I think Coach Perkins said Miami beat a Phoenix Country Day. I think that was their only loss this year.
Yep. That's what he said. That's what he was saying.
So they're definitely not invincible. Page, if you look at just the numbers and their conference play, their regular season and conference play, there's certainly on paper they're not the best 3A North team. So I guess it goes back to the debate that Coach Perkins brought up was, Chinle's playing for a 3A state championship and Page is playing for a copper championship, and they're not the same thing. So I guess maybe in the 3A boys copper bracket or the boys copper bracket, the best teams in the state are in that playoff or in that tournament, right? Whereas the girls' side, the best teams are not. I feel like the best teams are not being represented in the copper because Chinle lost to Tuba City earlier, and I'm not accusing them specifically of maybe not giving much effort because they didn't want to play in the copper, but it just kind of seemed like some of these schools were sort of in that same lane of like, we don't really want to play in the copper. Let's just kind of give our best effort, but if we lose, that's okay.
Yeah.
And did you see any of the highlights of the Chinle versus who they lost to Tuba City?
No, I didn't. I didn't get to see that, but I do know that I heard that Dijon didn't play in the second half or something. That's what I heard. So yeah, I don't think they took that game serious at all.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just have to see. But I'm hoping for a good game, and it's just unfortunate. I think that at least on the girls' side, it just wasn't taken as seriously as the boys' side was. But regardless, though, there's still a lot of good games to look forward to. And in my opinion, I would say the true team is probably on the girls' side. The true team, who's the best in the state, is probably going to come out of the 3A side, and not necessarily the copper side.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the way it worked out this year, and hopefully they do some changes next year because I think this is a 2-year thing, and it's going to come up to review after next year. But hopefully, this coming season or next season, they resort to changing it to where the champion and the runner-ups from each division go into a conference, the actual copper tournament afterwards, as opposed to doing them concurrently.
Be great.
Yeah, and plus it screwed the schedule up so bad. I can't. It was such a weird schedule this year. You have Page and Phoenix Country have like a week off. Chinle and Snowflake losing, and then they had their first round bye and everything, and it was just. And then Joe City's playing their state championship tomorrow, rather than on Saturday.
Yeah,
and then the 3A girls state championships at 1:00 on Saturday. I think they should just switch it. They should have put the copper at 1:00 and put the 3A at 6:00.
Yep.
Because I think that's what everybody's more interested in seeing. I guess I'm more interested in seeing the 3A state championship. But that's just I'm not trying to hate on Paige or anything like that. I'm just kind of thinking about how this all worked out. And I'll be rooting for Paige over Phoenix Country Day. But again, it's just unfortunate that it just sort of worked out this way.
Yep.
Okay, well, Mac, do you have any final thoughts?
One thing I was to mention was in the boys. I don't know if you've seen, but the boys bracket, we got Seligman playing against a Phoenix team. I forgot who it was, but for championship tomorrow too, I think. So Seligman, they beat Joe City in the semifinals. Yeah. So they play. I think it was a Gregory school. I think it's who it was.
Oh, okay.
So they have a good chance of winning state. And I don't know if you've seen some of their games and all that, but they got two boys, man, like really good players.
From Seligman?
Seligman. Monte and Carmelo. So shout out to them, man. I hope you guys get that win tomorrow. So look to the team there.
Here's a trivia question. When was the last time Seligman won a state championship in basketball?
I don't know.
The 2006 season. because I was a sophomore that year, and I remember Seligman. That was the year they had an all senior team. Not only for basketball but for football, and that was also the year Seligman played AZ State Boys Ranch in football, and they scored like 120 points in that football game.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then I believe Seligman played Mayor, and they got their butts kicked, and they forfeited the rest of the season after that because I think they didn't want to get injured for the coming basketball season, which the Seligman boys eventually won that year. But they had a good team that year as well in the 1A. They did go. I remember that year they did go to the Blue Ridge tournament around Christmas time. They did not win it or anything like that, but they were competitive that year. And I remember the faces of the players, but I don't remember their names. I'll have to look back maybe someday and see. But anyways, yeah. Best of luck to Seligman. It's a small town. Not much going on over there. It was sort of like being in Joe City, going to Seligman. It was kind of, it kind of gave me the impression of a ghost town. Seligman has definitely seen better days, just like Holbrook's seen better days when Route 66 was still a thing, still operational, right? Seligman's is one of those towns on I-40. And hey, we're sports on I-40, so it ties in anyways, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so the best of luck to them. Best of luck to everybody in the state playoffs, the state championships and whatnot. One other announcement, St. John's lost to Miami today. I know the St. John's girls, they were. I watched a little of it. They kept it pretty close in the first quarter. I think in the first quarter, Miami, they were tied, or maybe St. John's was winning. And then in the second quarter, Miami sort of started to pull away from that. But St. John's was able to sort of make up a small difference in that. And I think they ended up losing by 10, I think.
Oh, okay.
To Miami.
Wow.
So I'm not exactly sure which girls are for the 2A. I know Miami's in the state championship. Do you happen to know who the other team is? Not off the top of your head.
No, I don't remember. I'd have to look again, but no, I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah. So again, good luck to everybody. Hopefully, if your team is playing, go out and support them. Like I always say, these young players, they notice when their fans show up, and they're really grateful. If you're driving down there, be safe. Follow the speed limit, and we don't want anything. We want this to be a great time for everybody, and we don't want families or anybody to experience anything negative. Only looking for positive energy in this. So please take some time. Be safe. And do you have any final thoughts, Mac?
Man, just look to all the teams and everybody from out here back at home, man.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and this is the Sports on I-40 podcast. Thank you.